Hello, here we are for today's Rise of the False God Study Group book study. And I have my book handy, and today we are talking about evil as a contagious dis-ease. Apparently, my little co-host Tish is not with me right now, but I guarantee she'll probably show up before we're done here. I had everything all planned out that I wanted to talk about, but I just, before I do the video, I watch a little TV. And I was watching the Rachel Maddow show, and it was her last few minutes of the show. And so I was going to turn it off and, get grounded and everything. And she started talking about how all the headlines are talking about the number of COVID cases that are crippling the hospitals, and people are suffering and dying. Over 2,000 people died today from COVID. And my mind swims when I think of that, and I think of that whole, well, of course, all of us are suffering. Even the states in Connecticut are up substantially. But I remember, just what it was, a month or two ago, in the areas that are most strongly hit right now, they refuse to wear masks. They refuse to social distance. They went with guns to the Michigan governor's offices, to tell them we are not going to abide by your restrictions. And now the worst has happened. We always go and say, well, what's the worst that could happen? Well, here we are. But what I wanted to talk about tonight, I know you all know this stuff, but the reason I wanted to talk about it tonight is because we're talking about evil as a contagious dis-ease. And did you ever wonder why, with all we know that peace is never going to come through war? We know, the dangers of the avoidable of smoking. I'm not going to lie. There was a time when I was a smoker. I was. And that was over 40 years ago, but I still have to put that down when I go to the doctor. Do you smoke, or have you ever smoked? Yes, 45 years ago, and I didn't smoke a whole lot, but back in the days when I started smoking, there were no warnings. In the meantime, we've gotten the cause, the effect, the warnings, and guess what? We're not following them. See, when I talk about evil as a contagious dis-ease, remember, evil is, in our definition in unity, backwards living. It's contrary to what is good, contrary to what is good for yourself and for the whole. We don't look at it as an incurable dis-ease. As a matter of fact, the cure is quite simple. But then again, as simple and easy as wearing a mask. So between what Rachel was showing in the headlines today and the blurbs I've seen, during this week of the crowded airports, and the people who think it's not going to happen to me, and the people without the masks, and the people that crowd in, and the people who are still fighting for their freedom. But we have to remember, on an individual and a collective level, freedom requires responsibility, and great freedom requires great responsibility. See? So just take that into your heart in this coming week and think about it, and please, I urge you, wear your mask. Even if you've already had COVID and you've gotten over it, and you are immune or think you're immune, they don't know for sure if the immunity from it is permanent. Wear your mask anyway. If you don't wear it for you, wear it for someone you love. If you don't wear it for someone you love, wear it for our greater whole. That's what's got to shift, is consciousness. So we are tonight. Oh, and for those of you who are new, be sure to go to YouTube and subscribe to Rise of the False Gods, Alicia Leslie, and you'll be able to see all the videos. You'll also be alerted when there is a new one out. Also, please, if you like this video, share it. If you like any of them, share it, like it on Facebook. That way I know that someone I'm reaching is liking what they see. Okay, so we're beginning about 2/3 of the way down on page 104. It says, to be holy is to be whole, healthy, complete, having integrity in all aspects of mind, body, and soul. See, integrity is not just about your behavior. It's about the wholeness. It's about the sturdiness of the foundation that you stand on. It's something to aspire to. If holiness is not our current state of being, but we know our need to grow, every step we take towards our wholeness or holiness makes us feel good, and it calls us to go on forward, upward, and onward. But if our lives are troubled and filled with challenges and pain and suffering, there's a sense that something isn't right. That, how could this be? Now, when something's going wrong, we have a few choices. One is to be in denial, to make the symptoms go away, as it were, whether that be drugs or alcohol or just running away from the situation. Another way that we can treat it is to look for the cause. And the other thing we can do is blame God. Blaming God is so easy, like, God, why did you make this happen to me? Why are you punishing me? Here's a heads up. God doesn't punish us. The universe brings us lessons to learn, and that comes through cause and effect. And if we're paying attention, and we see that behind our pain and suffering is usually decisions we've made, thoughts we've held. So you see the different ways to look at it. So let's always look at the cause so we can avoid the effects we don't want. To be progressing on our spiritual path brings us a sense of comfort. When we're not progressing, or when we stall, or worse, we regress, or we experience discomfort. If we look at forward motion as ease and backward motion as dis-ease, we can clearly see how we don't want to go there. We want to go forward. We are living backward, contrary to our own good. Remember, evil is live spelled backward. We may not have a clue about how we went backward. We may be thinking, why is this happening to me again? Remember, in Unity we teach life is consciousness. If you are wondering how you got where you are, how we got where we are, the answer is in exploring our consciousness. That was one of the things that spurred me on to write this book, because after years of, I was in Unity over 30 years, I think, before I even started to write the book. But I started to write it because I could see how people didn't get the principles. And I said, well, maybe if I can tell people about these principles and about how they work and how they can transform our lives and the world we live in, shoot, maybe that'll work. So that's why we're here tonight. And that's why I encourage you, if something that's in this video inspires you and excites you, share it with somebody else, because that's how we change the world. Okay, So we may not have a clue of how we wound up going backward. A common cause is the collective consciousness that we are immersed in every day. This dis-ease of the collective consciousness is highly contagious. So it's not only our consciousness, but it is the collective consciousness that gets us off track. We are a part of that greater whole, and we are either impressing, inspiring the whole, or we are influencing or being influenced by the whole. Now, what's in it? That's it. What's in it for me? What's in it for them? What would be in it for someone to try to lead us astray? Well, for one thing, if someone's doing something that's really not on the right side of the path, they know it. They may do it anyway, but they know it. But it always makes them to feel better if someone else is doing it too. By the way, Tish came out, had a snack, and went back. So I guess maybe she's not going to be joining us today, but you can hear her in the background. Okay. We can catch the dis-ease from others. It might be commercials on television that tell us that we must rush to the store and get whatever they're pushing. Of course, they want to put our money in their pocket. You want to remember that. That they tell us this is what we need if we want to be accepted, if we want to be loved, if we want to be healthy. But there is want, there is need, and there is greed. And there is a valid, authentic need. We all have authentic needs. And then there are designer needs. They are not real needs. They are the needs of perception created by the false gods. What are false gods? Do I hear you? They are not beings or entities. They are states of consciousness. They are thoughts that we consistently hold in mind, therefore creating a false sense of what is really good, okay? It's once you get down the path a while, it gets easier. Doesn't mean it gets perfect, because I sure trip up plenty, but it does get easier. But the trick is knowing. It's being educated. It's drawing out from within you that is already in you, the truth that you already know. So, what you might hear? It's cold and flu season. What does that mean? Go to the pharmacy, get the tissues, get the cough drops, get the Zicam, get the airborne, get all the stuff, the medicine that you may need just in case. You know what? I have it in my cabinet. I don't have it in my cabinet because I think I'm going to get it. I have it in my cabinet because it's there and I don't have to think about it. And I don't have to agonize over whether I am truly living the principles by saying, I am a beloved child of God and I cannot get sick. And you know what? I actually do believe that. But I wouldn't say that I'm there yet, and I've had a few little episodes to prove it. But I still keep practicing it, preaching it, teaching it, and living it to the best degree that I can. Well, if you do hold thoughts, and see, that's it. It's about holding the thoughts. I can say, oops, well, it's that time of year. We're inside more. We tend to get colds and bugs and flus and stuff like that. So let's have that stuff in the cabinet and ignore it. So that's okay, because you had a thought, you addressed the thought, plan B, put it away. You don't ponder plan B all the time, or you can't focus on plan A. But if you got plan B, you're not going to be, worried to focus on plan A, okay? So you have the stuff, you put it away. Now, if you constantly worry about getting sick, if you keep chewing around in your gut all the time, guess what? You will manifest something. I mean, even think of the people who have actually, the women who want children so badly, they have a false pregnancy. I mean, that is the power of the mind. The mind can create all kinds of things, including appearances of what is not real. And yes, Cheryl points out that God can heal, but also wants us to use common sense and preventative measures. Some of the other things are like the ever popular, well, everybody's doing it. Well, everybody does that. Well, I don't know anybody. Just because we walk off the path and we backslide and do something negative, something evil, and we don't get hit by a bolt of lightning right away, does not mean that the effect will not be coming. It takes, diseases caused by the things we eat or drink or inhale, years to have their effects on our physical body, and years to have them go away. Personality drives mortal mind. Principle drives our spiritual mind, our upper mind. So in the lower human consciousness, which is a place we spend a lot of our lives, that we are working to transform, that we may elevate our consciousness to the spiritual realm of intuitive sensing, and therefore we can live fully in the world but not of it. So that is our goal. But still, until we are awakened, until we are actively aware, conscious of these things in life, we live down here where the personality, people pleasing, image, what people think of us, all this stuff, that's where it lives, and it's run by the personality. The personality is not the real you. The personality is the mask that you are currently expressing through. And I probably have, I don't know if I've shared this recently, but I used to teach astrology, and they say that the sun represents your individuality, and it's the glyph, the symbol for it is a circle with a dot in it, and it's meaning for the allness of God. That is your individuality. Now the moon, on the other hand, is the personality. And you notice that in the course of the month, the shadow falls across the moon, and we get the, new moon, first quarter, full moon, last quarter, new moon. So it goes around. Well, the personality is the way that the sun, the individuality, is currently shining toward the moon, and there's the shadow. And it's the shadow, which is our area that needs the light that passes by it. So the personality drives the lower consciousness, and principle drives the higher consciousness. If we don't know and understand spiritual principles, how can we work them, right? That's why we're here, to learn them, to live them, and to share them. Wouldn't you share a restaurant that you found that you love? Wouldn't you share a movie that you watched that you loved, that you say, oh my God, it's so good? Well, if you love this book and you love this study, don't be afraid to share it. Why is it we're afraid to share something that moves us spiritually? We're afraid to share that because someone might judge us or think we're preaching. But we're not afraid to share movies and restaurants and other opinions. It's real interesting. Okay, I got to move on because we want to make sure we're ready to go on to the next part tomorrow. Anyway, okay, so opinions have more value than facts when we're coming from lower consciousness. Ego, emotions, money, and stuff are more sought after than community, integrity, self-image in a healthy way. They all come before the whole, which is not only the wholeness of our own being, but the wholeness of the realm, the that we live in, the biosphere, the interconnectedness of all people and creatures on the planet. Now, if you're already awake, if you're already know, you're probably thinking like, duh. But people that are not aware of these spiritual principles are going like, oh my gosh, I never knew that. So if I'm boring you by repeating it, let's ride with it, because there's somebody probably that isn't quite aware of it that will be very happy to hear it, even if it's again and again. With integrity, it's all or nothing. There's no such thing as a little lie. A lie is a lie is a lie. That's like what they say. You can't be just a little pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. We can't justify our erroneous behaviors. We can come to understand them, but we cannot justify them. We have to be very aware of the ability to sort out what is opinion and what is fact. That has gotten us in a lot of trouble. An opinion is only how we, on the human level of thought, see something. It takes taking it apart and getting to the root of it to get to the facts. And if your facts and your opinions do not match, I suggest you align with facts, because they are in alignment with spiritual principle. You know, when I was saying that we can catch negative consciousness from people, I have heard people over and over talk about how they got into a bad crowd, a fight, a riot, and what they say, you know, like the protesters and the ones that get crazy, they got caught up in it. And that can be positive or negative. Remember yesterday I talked about going to Joyce Meyer's meetings one time, and in the beginning, I thought these people are crazy, and next thing you know, I'm flailing my arms around and praising God, and that was a good thing. So yes, consciousness is contagious. Think on that one. Write that one down, because you want to think about that a lot. Although we can't justify our errors, we can change what caused them. We have to shift gears. Now, I don't know if you drive a stick, what do they call that, standard transmission? I have driven a standard transmission for most of my driving days. And a lot of people go, oh my gosh, you drive a stick? And yeah, I do. But there's something I want to tell you about driving a stick. And if you have driven one, you know how it works. You can't just change gears. If you're going up a hill and you need a lower gear, you don't just move the thing. Your whole transmission would grind and it'd be horrible and you'd wreck the car. What you have to do is you've got to push in the clutch, which disengages the gears, shift it, and then slide the clutch. Take your foot off the clutch so it re-engages. And that's what we have to do in our lives. Sometimes we have to disengage the gears. Shift it into neutral for a couple of minutes before you re-engage. And that time in neutral gives us a chance to focus, to refocus, to break down what happened and when it ever happened before and how to prevent it from happening again. There's a lot of people that are very happy right now with the current stance of the election. They say, oh, goody, now it's good. Now it's good. Now we've got who we want, and it's going to be the way we want. Well, you know what, my dear beloved friends, that's not the way it is. The way it is we continually participate. This outcome came about because of participation. We either like the outcome or we don't like the outcome. But in any event, we must stay active. Don't go jumping on George and say, let George do it. No, we are in a government of, by, and for the people. And it is up to each one of us to be alert, to speak truth, and to hold the feet of the people in power to the fire of the promises they made. You can't stop. You can still contact your your representatives. You can do all kinds of things. You can write letters, okay? So let's not forget that. It's never really over. Our life is not going for a destination. It's an ongoing journey. It's a journey to perfection, and I got quite a ways to go, I'll say that. Okay, so sometimes we have to disengage from people, places, and things that keep us in a negative state of mind. We have to stop the constant stream of ego or fear-based thoughts that keep tugging at us. Consider some of the negative people you might associate with, tugging at you, places that inhibit spiritual growth, and maybe long-established habits that need breaking. To keep yourself in a state that is free of dis-ease, let go. How do we deal with germs? We avoid them to stay clean. This is also true with the germs of consciousness. Germs of consciousness are little thought seeds that come into our mind, and if we think about it and get some feelings connected with it, we will manifest, for better or worse. So having integrity, having the wholeness we want in our life, may mean we make new friends, we turn off the news, we stop watching violent or provocative movies, we change relationships that we're in, we stand up for ourselves. Now, you have to get rid of a lot of things if you want to grow spiritually. But be cautious here, because God hates a void. And the minute we start throwing things out of our life, we make room for something else to come in. Okay, Diane, I see your question. What's the definition of fact? Folks seem to have so many different truths based on facts. It's very confusing. Well, a fact is like a scientific fact that, that's how music is based on. It's something that works and is repeatable, and it's the same every time. Where people do not see things the same way, so it's very hard to say, what is a fact there, and can be confusing. It's simply not easy. So I hope it doesn't give you discomfort to think that you're going to have to do homework to discern what is the truth. Now we remember truth, and this is truth is absolute, eternal, and unchanging. We may have a difference about what we think of the reality, but the truth never changes. Only our experience and understanding of it changes. And you will find that as you, I don't know if I talked about this last night, about the Bible, and the Bible is called the living Word of God, because as we read it one way, and we take it to have a particular meaning, and then we grow spiritually, and then, we see it differently. Now, a fact is, here's a fact, that you are safer in a car with your seatbelt on that went out without it. That is a fact. More people's lives are saved by seatbelts than lost by them. Yes, people have died because that seatbelt was on and they couldn't get out. I know that can happen because when I had an accident one time, my car got hit so hard in the driver's seat side that my seatbelt buckle was slammed into the console and I couldn't reach it. Had the car caught fire, I probably might have died. Also, the driver of the car that hit me came over and happened to have a knife and cut me loose. And he was close enough when he cut me loose that I could smell the alcohol on his breath. So, was it his fault? Was it my fault? I pulled out suddenly and didn't realize how quickly he was coming. He was speeding and drinking. What are the facts? The facts are there was an accident. And it happened. And if we both learned from it, that's a good thing. maybe that helped a little bit to understand a little bit about facts and opinions. And I'd love to discuss it anytime. You should come up with more stuff and just let's have a talk about it sometime. Thank you. I'm glad I was okay too. The interesting thing is, as that car, I looked up and I saw the truck approaching me, and it was a biggie. It was a Dodge. I forgot what it was. Freaking huge, big red truck. I knew I was going to be okay. I knew I was going to be okay. Don't ask me how I knew. Car looked like a fortune cookie, and I never wanted to see that car again. Didn't have to because I was gone. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm running over time, but I hope you will be okay with that because I want to finish this so we can move on tomorrow. Okay. So sometimes the dragon wins, but that dragon is often within us. It's holding negative thoughts. If we do not fill the void, when we dump out stuff in our life that we don't want to be there, if we don't fill the void with something positive, the negative can swoop right back in. So when you decide you're going to change your life, let's say you decide you're going to stop smoking, okay? If you just stop smoking, the void where that activity took in your life, that place in your mind and in your physical being, must be replaced by something else, something healthy, so that you can get through it. Okay? And remember, sometimes smokers they can't go cold turkey. They got to wean themselves off. Sometimes we have to wean ourselves away from bad habits or ways of being or ways of believing. Takes a while. Okay. As we become more attuned to spirit, we become more sensitive to the errors, rage, anger, guilt, lies, fear. We become sensitive and we can attend to them more easily. They threaten any progress we have made on our path, and we want them gone. Now, in the book, I say the decrease of faith in our own self can lead to further sins, errors. Now, it's not that we have any less faith. It's what we're putting our faith in. So you may be putting your faith in an error thought that you are a failure or that you can't do it, when the truth, the fact, is that you can. And that is a fact. Yes, you can. I know how many things I never thought I could do that I sure am doing. Okay. When we want to think about the story of when Jesus rescued the woman caught in adultery. She was about to be stoned. And I'll tell you something, I've learned something about stoning, and that was not a good thing. He said to the accusers who had the stones in their hand and they were ready to throw them, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." And if you're at all familiar with the writings of Edgar Cayce, he's known as the Sleeping Prophet, he said that it was misinterpreted and that what Jesus actually said is, "Let he who has not slept with her, cast the first stone." Either way, they walked away. And she looked up, and she looked at Jesus, and she looked around, and he said, "Where are your accusers?" And she said, "There are none. There's nobody accusing me." And he said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go forth. Neither do I condemn you. Go forth." The important part. And sin no more. When we become aware that we are doing something that is not healthy for ourselves, for the planet, for others, we know that we must decide not to do that behavior again. Now, if the woman had continued to condemn herself, she would have been holding thoughts of herself as a sinner, which would then manifest. It would have to because of the thoughts they held in mind. Now, yes, Cheryl says that, wow, doesn't say much for the men. That is true. At the same time, when they walked away, they had something to think about too. Let he who is without sin cast the first stone. When we have an awakening to an error we're making, something we want to change in our lives, it's as simple as putting a period at the end of the sentence. I don't do that anymore. I am not going to lie to you. I have made mistakes in my life, and every once in a while they come out and want to slap me upside the head. I know even this morning in Jazzercise, there was a song on that triggered something from my past, something I regretted. And I had to do that. You know what I do with my mind? I clean out that bad thought and throw it over to the pool of transfiguration and transformation. And we have to do that. Put a period in it. That's not who you are anymore. You made a mistake. We all make mistakes. End of the story. Go forth and don't do it again. We can all do that. If we made a mistake, we acknowledge it. We understand why it's an error. Then change that behavior. You know what? Consciousness is contagious. As whatever you got out of tonight, out of this teaching, please, I'm going to give you a little hint. You're going to find this from now on. Why? Because you are suddenly aware of it when you weren't aware of this before. Before this time, tomorrow night, you are going to have had an opportunity to help someone else. You don't have to use the same words, same stories, or any of your own stories. You will be given the opportunity to help someone else. Do it. Okay. It's hard to make the changes, but try to think of it by taking yourself out of the center. What if you say to yourself, this is just a game. I'm playing a game, and I'm playing to win, because I play by the rules. Also, remembering the words of Shakespeare. The world is a stage, and we are just the players. And we play every part, but we are just the players. Take that pressure off. When we have to break that connection with our human fears and emotions and lift them up higher. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight, and I hope you got something out of it. Sometimes you may have to listen to one of the videos 2 or 3 times to really let things sink in. And isn't it nice to know they're on YouTube so you can't miss them? Tomorrow, we are going to do the pit and the pendulum. Immorality versus rigid religiosity. Ooh, sound interesting? I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless.